15. Had 2 this morning. It's starting to pick up a little bit, man, and not even really advertised yet or anything, just word of mouth. So I think once we start, like, we'll do grand. We're kind of stuck in between doing grand opening either like in between the holidays or just waiting till January 1st or after the first of the year. So just deciding on when we're going to do grand opening. But I think once we do that and start like really posting to the social media pages and things like that, things could probably take off.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, likewise.
Looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Derek and Friends podcast. I'm Derek, your host as always. And today I have a very special guest who took time out of his busy day to come out here, the one and only Elliot Paylor. How you doing, man?
Appreciate it, man.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
So first and foremost, man, I wanted to just dive on into this. I wanted to talk more about what you're doing, man. You're opening up a new golf academy, Paylor Made Golf Academy, which we have up here right now. Tell me about it, man.
It's something that has just kind of built over the last year or two, to be honest. Big playing background, so I played professionally, chasing the dream, trying to get on tour and stuff. I've taught at some golf courses in the past, but I would say probably COVID year is when things really started to kind of change for me. I was working at a shop in Walnut Creek called Kepler's. They trained me to become a fitter out there, and that's when things really kind of started to connect. Being able to use technology and understanding how equipment worked, and then seeing how I can help people better understand how to swing a golf club better. Mm-hmm. That's kind of when this all started. So I started teaching a little bit out of Kepler's before and after hours, so kind of like really long days at times, not getting home till pretty late. But it was starting to kind of show to me that I could really help people in this game and help people on a much deeper level than I've ever been able to in the past. So times in the past when I've taught and things of that nature, it's been kind of hard to get people to buy in and get people to kind of really, take to the things that I'm trying to teach them. But having technology, having a better understanding of how things work, and then using that technology to my advantage, like you've kind of already experienced yourself, right, it makes it a lot easier to people to buy in. And at the end of the day, I mean, no matter what, you got to kind of believe what you're doing and buy into any type of change in life itself, let alone swinging a golf club.
Sure.
So it was at Kepler's that really, in an hour time fitting, I could get someone from hitting a really big slice to hitting a small fade within an hour. And that was when it was like, okay, I mean, I can really help people out in the game that I love more than anything, in this life other than my children and my wife,
right,
and family and friends and stuff. But it really opened up my eyes to how much I could help somebody. So fast forward to now, it was about a year ago in September when the McGuire family reached out to me and said, hey, would you ever be interested in opening up your own place here in town? And it took me about a year to finally take that leap of faith and kind of make that jump into running my own business. And so here we are now. We kind of got things rolling in September of this year, August of this year. I've just been kind of teaching by word of mouth of late, but I think it's something that has a really big potential because there's nothing around here. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of golf instruction in the Solano County area. Outside of golf courses. Yeah.
And I can attest to that, being that as it may, there are a lot of, yes, they have PGA Tour pros that work out of the courses locally, but
sure,
trying to set something up is almost next to impossible because they're just so
sure,
backed up. So
for sure.
When an opportunity like this presented itself with me, I just jumped on it like right away.
I appreciate it.
Being not only being a student but also being a avid golf enthusiast, I like to say.
Absolutely.
It was really eye opening for me, especially being able to sit down and not only talk about what my swing is and how I was going through it, but being able to talk golf, being able to explain your game to somebody else.
Sure.
I know there's something in your lesson plan where it's just talking golf for 30
golf
minutes.
Golf talk, man. Golf talk, therapy session.
I think that's a very valuable thing, not only just the mental aspect of the game. It could even be physical because, true versus feel kind of thing. Those things, we talk about quite a bit,
Fact to feel, man.
That make the difference in it. So that being said, when you first jumped on, I mean, I know you said you started in high school and you moved your way up.
Yeah.
What was the moment at which you took it to the next level to professional? What was that transfer like for you?
It was really unorganized. I mean, at that, I made the jump right out of high school. So I didn't really get any college offers for playing golf, even though I was one of the better players, if not one of the best players in the Northern California area. It wasn't the time of this social media stuff and all these ways to kind of get networking done. And back in the day, you kind of either had to have a coach or a mentor or somebody that was there kind of helping you with that type of stuff, unless you were one of those self-made people. And those guys are very rare to come across, right? Where they know how to do everything, far between, right? And so I think it was kind of just like my mentor at the time. I remember sitting down with my mom at Green Tree, talking to my mentor at the time, and her really just asking him, do you think my son can play at that level? And that was what we based it off of. Was my mentor was like, absolutely, I believe that, one of the best young players that I've seen, XYZ this, XYZ that. So it was just like, okay, let's just jump into the Wolves Den then. Let's just go right into it. Let's forge our starting this professional circuit just through the flames of fire. Sure. And so I started out 18 years old. I qualified for the Hooter Tour Summer Series down in Palm Springs. So I graduate in June, and by end of July, I'm playing on a professional tour down in Palm Springs. And
wow.
From there, it was just, I didn't really know what to do, how to do it. And so along the ways, I would find somebody that knew more than me, and I'd ride their coattails until I wore them out for information, then move on to the next person, ride them for coattails until I, could find the next step to do. And I was really self-taught until I was about 22, 23. And that's when I found my coach, who I still work with today, Phil Dawson up at Cata Vadera. But he was the one that was really kind of like, hey, if you do the right things, there's really no sky's the limit, right? I mean, you don't really know how far you can take something until you actually do it.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
So what were some of the things when you initially, not to cut you off,
you're good.
I want to hear all your stuff.
All good.
I want to hear your story, and I'm sure a lot of my listeners want to hear it too as well. But first and foremost, what was one of the things that you experienced in your golf journey that you had to develop and teach? What were some of the struggles that you faced? Because I know a lot of golfers out there who are looking for teaching, who are looking for lessons,
for sure,
probably struggle with the same thing. So what were some of the things that you had to work on in order to develop yourself to get to that next level? Not only from a tournament standpoint, a professional standpoint, but as a golfer, as an individual.
I think learning how to practice. I think that's something that I've heard from a lot of really good players, and actually players of all skill levels, is just kind of learning how to practice efficiently. Not just, you can sit on a driving range and watch every single person rake and hit, and they do that the whole 120 balls, right? So they do that with all the golf balls, and at the end of the session, they've gained and learned nothing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. So they spend this hour hitting 100 balls, and they learn nothing from it. So I think that learning how to practice more efficiently, learning how to practice the things that ail you the most. I mean, as men in this game, and even women too, they want to just hit the long ball when the long ball is the least important really shot in the bag, right? So practicing the things that you're weakest at is a hard thing to do, but is the thing it demands the most.
You know what? I love that you use that example, because I just got done playing with my boy Frankie, which shout out to Frankie. I know you guys go way back or whatever.
My little brother.
But like I said, him and I went and played Blue Rock, and we played West Coast, and there was two ways we played, and we tied. We both shot at 87.
Okay.
But the funny part is that I had 4 fairway hits, and he had 12.
Yeah.
We shot the same score.
Yeah.
I had 6 pars and 1 birdie. He had 4 pars and bogeys.
Yeah.
And I remember this in one of our lessons, you spoke of it too. You said there's 2 ways that you can play golf, right? You can hit that 325-yard drive up there. You can shank a wedge shot up there, then 3-putt for bogey for a par 5.
Sure.
And then you can either hit one way off into the right, then smash one with the 3-wood right on the green, and then boom, 3-putt for par. There's 2 ways to play the game. And I think it's sometimes what we try to focus on, and just from my perspective, is that we try to make everything perfect when really you're just trying to manage your game now.
Manage the misses.
Right. A game of misses.
You're never going to perfect this game. If you perfect this game, then you shoot 18 for 18 holes.
Right.
That's utterly impossible.
Yeah.
Utterly impossible. And so I think that's it. Along the way, I've been playing this game since I was 12, 13 years old. So there's 25 years that I'm, kind of just embarking on. And I think learning to practice more efficiently, but learning how to make my weaknesses my strengths. And that's, I think, just in everyday life, that's tough. That's like somebody who's, I'm not a morning person. Well, the hardest thing that you're ever going to do is learn how to be a morning person. But the more that you train it, the more that you work on it, the more that you create this habit that becomes automated, that's how you get better at those type of things. And so a lot of golf translates to life. And I think that's one thing that's made it very easy for me to grasp onto, and something that I'll do until I'm 6 feet under, man, is play this game, because it's got too much to offer, from social aspect to fulfilling any type of competitiveness anybody could possibly have. This game will always give you as much as you can handle with that. Yeah. So I just think, and I think everybody's journey is a little different, right? So I went from practicing 5-6 days a week the last couple of seasons that I was playing professionally, playing 5-6 days a week, to only practicing 3 to 5 days a week and less time, and my scores were improving. So from less reps and less work, but the quality of practice. Everything was done with a purpose. Everything was done with intent. There was no wasted time. And it doesn't mean that I'm so focused and locked that I can't have fun.
Correct.
But everything had a purpose behind it. It wasn't just wasted time. It wasn't just hitting balls to hit balls. It was hitting balls to learn something. It was hitting balls to improve on something. So I think just trying to focus a little more on doing practice with intent and not just doing it to go through the motions, that's where somebody can make a really big difference and improve.
Okay. And great point when it comes to practice. I mean, I'll tell you this right now. There's a point in my game when I had to essentially go back to it because I would stop practicing. It would make a huge difference, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would practice a lot of my stuff at home here, just chipping on the floor, putting on the floor, and that's where my strongest part of my game was because I realized I was practicing
putting in the
so
reps,
often.
Reaping what you sow.
When it comes to the iron play and the driver, there'd be times where I'm like, I can't hit my driver to save my life, but how often do I actually go out and work on it? So all those things come into play, especially when you're trying to move up. Now, you essentially go to a point where you're playing not on tour, but you're at that point now.
Yep.
What happens next? When do you get into Canada and you start going into that tour?
Yeah. So playing up there, I mean, that they formulate that just like the PGA Tour. They try and not try, but they have a Q school for it. So you got to go through Q school. You got to get your status, and then realistically, man, you got to play your ass off. You got to play great golf. I mean, and it's only getting more demanding nowadays than ever because now you have these athletes that are picking golf versus other sports. So going up into Canada, it was great. The 2018, 2019 seasons that I was there, it was great because now it's an official partner of the PGA Tour. You're earning world ranking points. It has a little more emphasis to it. It's ran exactly as you would run any PGA Tour event. So getting into that environment is different. I've played, I Monday qualified for the Barracuda back in 2016. That was my first taste of the PGA Tour. And
I can't imagine.
It was the fastest week of my life.
I can't imagine.
By far the fastest week of my life. I mean, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, but also one of the most rewarding. I mean, here I am, just a local kid from Vacaville, and I made it to the highest level in this game. And even if it was just the one taste that I've had so far at that level, even getting to a Mackenzie Tour level or playing this game on any professional level, you are just part of such a low percentile in this game that can play it at that level, right? And so the biggest thing that I would say that the difference from people that are out there versus guys that are kind of scratching at that surface is time and experience. It's you're a musician, right?
Yeah.
Your very first show, you were
god awful,
and you were in a brick. You were nervous. You were scared. Everything. And now you walk into a stage and you walk with your peacock feathers out because you've done this.
Yeah,
you've been
it's
there.
Different, right?
You've been there.
It's still. I will say this though. I will say that there's still the day I don't feel nervous or excited.
Quit. Goodbye.
When I play music in front of people, I'm done.
Yep. 100%.
Because it's lost its fun.
For sure. Oh, without a doubt.
Because the experience that I feel whenever I do that is, butterflies. You're anxious. You go up there. You're kind of nervous. But that's all fuel. I call it.
You learn to embrace it, though. You've learned to use that. First day you were feeling those same exact things. You just had no clue what to do with them.
Right.
You had no clue how to streamline it and get it into the top peak performance that you can now, right?
Yes.
And it's that same thing. I think there's a lot of guys out there who only have a glass ceiling on top of their heads, and if they can break that, they're there. Like it's literally that small of a difference. And realistically, it's 1 week in this game can change your life when you're competing at that level. Like, you see a lot of guys who just ride this roller coaster wave and they go from being nobodies and they're at the top now.
Well, that's the thing with professional golf too, as well as, you have levels and
100%.
It's almost insane or impossible for golfers to not only be at that high tier for a long period of time, but to try to maintain.
Yes.
It's very difficult. You have, there was a point in time when I used to watch golf when Jordan Spieth was just no one could beat that guy. Nope. He was making incredible shots. His wedge play, his putting, everything was just dialed in.
Yep.
Which he attributes to his caddy, for a lot of that stuff. But,
Sure.
But then there's just a drop off sometimes. You get these guys who come in who start up hot and they look great.
Yep.
I mean, I can recall the Cantley DeChambeau playoff.
Oh yeah,
when they
6 holes, 7
like that
holes,
was the most
like
incredible thing to watch. Two different styles of play, or two different styles of play, but still the same focus, and and skill.
Oh yeah.
It was just incredible to watch. I mean, just watching that going back and forth, I'm just like, okay, well, DeChambeau's going to bomb it, but then Cantley had a great consistent
Stuff
drive.
The second shot or thing.
DeChambeau would put it 10 feet, and Cantley put it in 4 feet, and it was just like it was great golf to watch.
Sure.
But it's different, obviously different levels and different tiers, but. That when you talk about the commitment level it takes to get to that point and all the hard work and practice you have to put into it, that's going to be really the determining factor whether or not you're going to go to that next level. So 100%. You get into this stage, you play on a PGA tour. What happens next? What gets you into the next stage?
I mean, I wish it was that simple. I wish it was just one thing that did it. I think I think the stars have to align. I think a lot of life has to align for you. I think a lot of outside agents that have nothing to do with the game itself have to line up. I've always kind of battled against the monetary thing. I've always just kind of had the money not there at all times. And when you play this game, chase it at that level, trying to chase it for money, man, that's hard. I've slept in my car multiple weeks at a time. I know almost every truck stop up and down I-5 from here to LA because I've been there, done that. I think that that's always just been something that can kind of just keep you back unless you can ignore it. Like, unless you can just play through that type of stuff. And if I wasn't able to play through those type of challenges, I wouldn't have ever made it to that level. But I think that that's kind of something that's always just been kind of like something that's held me back, is just not always having the money. Cause it takes about 50 to 100,000 a year to play on a tour.
That's insane.
Period. I don't care who you are. I mean, It takes about that much money. And in 2018 and 2019, I was playing full seasons off about 10 to 15 grand. So I was making cuts, I was replenishing money, and just being able to keep going. So it's from, I think that's a piece of it. It's not the only reason why. If it was the only reason why, maybe I would have been sponsored by now. But there's too many variables, man. There's just like, I had my best week up in Canada. In Toronto in 2019, I shot 18 under, finished tied for 6th. Wow. And the very next week I had to go to a family wedding and had to miss a tournament, right? Yeah. That's something that's uncontrollable, man. I'm not going to pass up family time for this and vice versa.
Family first, man. I agree.
But sacrifice is a word that I think anybody has to learn to embrace, and anybody has to accept to chase a dream. Yeah. I mean, to try and make it on any scheme of any level. Tony Finau is a great example, man. Their family sacrificed everything for this dude to make it to the PGA Tour. Everything. I mean, all their money, all their efforts, they sacrificed, and they were rewarded for it, right? I mean, this dude's one of the best players in the world now. So it takes a lot of sacrifice, right? Like, I had to learn early on that going out at 3-4 nights a week at 22 years old probably wasn't the best thing to be doing if you're trying to chase a dream. Right. So sacrifice is a big word that just kept coming up. The older I've gotten, sacrifice becomes more demanding. And
to that nature, or to that word alone, sacrifice. I was watching a documentary about Tiger's practice, right? And it's more updated. It's the newer one.
Sure.
And he's explaining about where his mind is now in the game than it was when he didn't have kids. Yeah. And how his game has changed. He's like, golf is no longer the most important thing to me in my life anymore. I have two other things that are the most important thing to me in this world. So my priorities have changed. And he's like, that's okay. That's what this game is about sometimes. Sometimes you have to prioritize what's more important to you, and I can utilize that in any style of my game. So for instance, if my priority is not this, I'm going to focus on this part of my game. And if I have kids, again, my kids are going to be my priority. My game's going to come second no matter what.
Sure.
I don't, and there's a part of you that has to be okay with that. Like the part, that a lot of times we'll be like, no, I have to be here. And it's like, you have to kind of go, you know what? It's just a game.
Yeah.
And
for sure,
there are days where I go out and play and I'm like, man, I want to play better. But those are usually the days where I play like shit, or I make mistakes, or something doesn't happen right.
Yep.
It's the days you don't have expectations. Zero. That you go out there and you play some of your best golf you ever
Michael
played.
Jordan flu game.
Right. And it's just one of those things about this game that I like it so much, is that it has nothing to do with whether you're the biggest, baddest dude or the biggest, strongest person. It has nothing to do with that.
Yep.
I think it has a lot to do with mind, like clarity of the mind.
For sure.
And understanding, like, hey, just take it one swing at a time and then go from there.
Yep.
Don't look at the hole and go, God, I have 485 yards to go down for a par 5. And it's like, well,
got to hit a tee shot first.
Let's hit the tee shot. Let's get it in the fairway. All right, put it in the fairway. Let's get it up by the green.
Yeah,
all right,
for sure.
Put it in position for this.
Yep.
And I love that part of the game.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite times was when I played Teal Bend and shot a 78, which was insane.
Yeah.
I know I shot you a text because that's how I roll.
Heck yeah.
I got to let you know how my golf game is progressing. But one of the things that I personally, helped me quite a bit, was not only do you not talk about, or not only do you talk about golf, but your detailed descriptions you send through your email that break down what we talked about, grip pressure, takeaway is really important, all these things. And I think that's incredibly beneficial, especially from my perspective, where I have to kind of reiterate that to myself when I play,
For sure.
I think that when you're in your teaching method, I like the engagement. There was a point where we did a lesson at Paradise, and you just instantly saw my grip pressure he's like, you just fucking slapped my hand. Hey man, stop doing that. And which is, it's fine with me. Cause
sure. Oh, yeah.
That's coach mentality, man.
Yep.
I was my dad put me in all kinds of sports my whole life.
Yep.
He was my mentor with a lot of sports. He taught me the fundamentals of a lot of sports and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So that level of engagement for me was really a connection to, this game and what you were able to teach me, and how much it benefited me in the game. So, to see and hear your story and where you started and where you went and now where you're at now, it's incredible, right? Because you've experienced all these things. You've been on tour. You got to play with professional golfers.
Yep.
You got to play on a PGA Tour course with insane fairways, insane greens, and
Amazing.
seeing all this stuff, right?
Amazing.
But it puts things in perspective because. I just from my perspective is just what I've been able to see and what I've been able to experience, especially with your lessons and what you're able to show me. It's pretty incredible to see that.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much.
Not only do I appreciate it, but it's definitely taken my game to the next level, right? So now I'm looking at, okay, so we did this, and now I'm ready for the next step of my journey, right?
Another brick to the foundation.
And that's the cool part about it, and I think a lot of people would find that it's very obviously, unfortunately, golf is an expensive game, man. It's not a cheap game, man. It's a rich man's game. It sucks.
Should have stuck with basketball.
But if you're out there and you're golfing and you're trying to move to the next step and you're stuck in a rut, it is extremely beneficial to find a teacher, to find a coach, to someone who can help you get through that. Because a lot of times it may not be, it's not just, oh, I can't figure the inside out. It could be just something as small as grip pressure,
setup change, anything. Yeah,
something basic that can get you to that next level to where you can really get that buy-in, to where you can really start to make a difference. Yeah. And I'll tell you from my perspective, I literally have changed. My game has completely changed in the last 6 months. And a lot of my friends like to say, "Oh, you got new irons, you got new shafts for your golf." I'm like, no, I was going to say that's not the game, man. Because honestly, if I wanted to go out and play with my friends' golf clubs, I could probably figure it out. Would I shoot the best? Probably not, but I could figure it out.
Absolutely.
It's not about the clubs; it's about the player.
Yep.
And I learned that over this period of time, where now practice is what really is going to make a difference.
The reps,
man. So the reps and I think what you're doing is good, man. I think it's great. I obviously work with you. Actually, you fitted me for my shafts when you worked at Kepler's. That's when we met. All my friends who I golf with all showed me and said, "Ted, hey, call up them and tell them, Elliot, that's what you want. Just say that." I'm like, why? I'm like, just say it. Okay. I got there and I'm like, yeah, these guys all refer to me. You're like, oh, you're one of those motherfuckers. Okay, cool. But the point, what I'm trying to make is that I'm really happy for you in your journey. I'm really happy that you're doing this, man, and
Thank you.
You're taking it to the next level, dude.
Thank you. Trying to, man.
It's awesome.
It's become teaching has never been, and just to be honest, teaching has never been a real big passion of mine. But I'd like to think I've always been someone that's always looking to help. I was raised by 6 women, so I think that's kind of ingrained in me to do that. I now am surrounded by women with my wife and my 2 daughters. That's something I'll never get away from, apparently. But I think that,
it's destined for you, man.
Exactly. Above and beyond. I mean, I think it just solidifies that I am kind of on the right journey, because I do have a passion and a love for golf that'll never change. And now I get to kind of not force it on the people, but show people that, playing the game is one thing, and playing at a professional level, I think we catch glimpses of these guys kind of expressing their love and passion for the game. But now I get to do it with everyday people, and I get to do it all the time. And it's very rewarding. Like the lesson that I just had earlier today, It's a lady that doesn't swing it very hard, man. She came in hitting 960 yards. We're hitting at 85, 90 yards right now.
Nice.
And that's very rewarding, and that's only in like a 4 week amount of time. And I think that one of my biggest attributes to this game is I don't have a theory of teaching. Being self-taught for so long, I've learned a lot of stuff just through trial and error, and I think that that's another thing that could really help people is at a certain point, you got to do it on your own a little bit to figure out what you can and can't do naturally. And I think that sometimes lessons can be intimidating when you go to a place or a coach and the lessons become the same every single time. And they're not willing to change up the angle of attack to try and get the person to make better changes, right? Or make a better
not
swing.
Tailored to the person.
Exactly. It's got to be. And I think that's where I come from, a path where that's all I know. A lot of instructors at golf courses, they learn how to teach through a book. I've learned how to teach in this game by doing it, by failing over and over and over again, only to learn from it. And I think that at a certain point, the more someone kind of tries to embrace their kind of natural ability, and then you can implement some structure to it with mechanics and things like that, I think people can really have a lot of potential in this game. And I've seen people who don't believe they're an athlete. Man, if you can hit a golf ball, you're an athlete. It's a sport. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. It truly is. It takes athleticism. It takes hand-eye coordination. Strength and speed does help, but it's not mandatory nor demanded. Right. And so I think that people can really kind of learn a lot as long as you have that way of connecting with someone on their level. And everybody's different. Everybody's DNA is structured a little differently. So sometimes trying to get those wires connected take different angles of attacks and stuff like that. And I think that's where I really don't have an issue trying to re-explain the same topic 10 different ways. I want to find out how it clicks for you and how it can register for you so that we can get the results that we're looking for. And I think that's one of my biggest attributes. And one of the biggest exciting things is my lessons are never the same. It's something that now I see that I'm really going to enjoy doing this. I'm really going to enjoy growing this business. I also don't believe my playing days are done. This is a game that doesn't have a timeline on it. You have a window in basketball, you have a window in baseball, you have a window in football. Golf's a lifetime sport, man. Some people don't. You got guys that never played professional golf that have made the senior tour and they're playing professional golf now.
Crazy.
It is. And I guarantee you there's some other athletes out there that will pursue this game like a Steph Curry. When that man retires, I'm pretty confident he's going to pursue golf. But I think that it offers, again, kind of reiterate a few things. I think it offers a lot of life structure. So even for young kids, man, I think the one thing that was beautiful for my mom is that she got to drop me off at a golf course 5-6 days a week and got to go to work and never worry that my kid's at a golf course. It's one of the safest places that you can probably leave a kid. Seriously. I mean, if something happens to your kid at a golf course, that was meant to happen. I'm sorry, but golf course is one of the safest places that you can leave, your child nowadays. And I think that's, even if you have young kids that don't have anything, having this indoor studio just offers a safe place for them to go, right? They can come learn a new sport, learn something that they might like to play with their friends for the rest of their lives, and they'll be able to form relationships and bonds that, I got friends that are 25 years old now. I've been friends with them from day one, and they're here in town. And that's, if I didn't have golf, I wouldn't have those relationships necessarily, right? It might be other places, but it's brought a lot of great things into my life, and it's helped me create the village that surrounds me now. And that's something I'm very blessed and thankful for on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's good, man. Now, did your family, when you came to golf at a young age, was that support factor there as well?
Yeah, my mom. Without my mom, I would have never been able to pursue any of this. I mean, my mom went from raising 6 kids on her own to raising 1.
Jesus.
So I'm like, my siblings were all out of the house by the time I was 11. So I was a solo kid from 11 on. And if that wasn't, I don't even think I would have been able to golf if that wasn't the case, right? Like you attested earlier, man, golf ain't cheap.
No.
Golf is very, very expensive, right? And so without my mom's support, without my mom's just undying wanting to just give me everything that she possibly could, I never would have made it to the levels that I have, and so it is, and don't get me wrong, my siblings supported it just as much, and I've been very fortunate to have a lot of people in my corner that wouldn't let me quit when the times got really hard. I've left the industry a couple of times. I worked at a car wash. I worked in cell phones. I wanted to kill myself both times. Like, I've always found my way back to a golf course or working in the golf industry. And now I'm able to kind of work on my own terms now too. And it's given me a great life balance. I get to be with my daughters as much as I want. I get to be with my wife as much as I want. I'm blessed to be able to work here in town. My wife works out of town. So now we have one parent local at all times. Like, it's turning out to be a huge blessing to be able to have this opportunity to open this business and hopefully expand it one day.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
it.
When you think about where this business is going to take you and whatnot. Have you talked to any other local businesses, or ever just try to plan some kind of community outreach, something like that, where you can try to
yeah, for sure. So
bit,
I think that's kind of the next direction. So our second daughter was born in end of July. That threw just, a huge wrench in trying to get this thing up and off the ground. So we've been, maybe a little more passive in doing that, but we're planning to do like a big grand opening either in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, or just waiting till after the first of the year, because there's really no big difference there. But more so to let people know that we're here, because right now the only way that people know is by word of mouth. The only way people know is just a friend telling another friend, or you happen to just come to the new place that opened up upstairs, the library downtown by Journey Coffee. They just opened up a whiskey bar. They got really good pizzas and a cool lounge area upstairs. But once we do the grand opening, my social media pages will be posted to on a daily basis. We'll start getting a lot more information kind of out there to the public and everything like that. So I definitely do have full intentions of getting the community much more involved. I believe that the grand opening will kind of just hopefully set us on fire to the point where we're having lessons all day, every day, or I'm having to push people back because I'm too booked. I mean, that's the goal. And then if we can get to that level, the future can uphold maybe a bigger facility with more simulators in it.
Yeah.
Family fun environment for you to come down, have dinner and things like that, hang out, bring the kids. That's the big goal.
It's a really nice spot, man.
That's the big goal.
Yeah. And I for a long time I really didn't know where that spot was or anything.
A lot of people don't.
Where is this place?
There's
and I went
not
down
even
there.
an address on the building.
I went down there once for when they did it like a brewery kind of thing, or like a soft serve opening or something like that. And we went over there and hung out. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And then I saw they had pizza and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be interesting. And then when you sent me the address, I show up and I'm like, am I in the right spot?
This place?
Like, I heard this place is gonna open up for you. I know it's downstairs, and you showed me. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
You'd never know.
No,
you'd never know that's
the
location.
100%.
Get there.
And that's the other thing. I mean, I don't even have signage out the place right now. Excuse me. That's something that's in the works and everything like that. But it's prime location, man. 300 Main Street, downtown. Downtown is starting to kind of get revitalized. You got some new businesses coming in. You got this one that opened upstairs. There's a steakhouse now at the end of the street, by the creek walk. So downtown, I mean, you go down there on a Friday night now, man, and that front courtyard of the building that I'm in is packed. It's packed.
Yeah. Okay.
It's packed. Right next door, so it's the old theater right next door, Journey Coffee. They're doing shows on the weekends again.
Yep, that's right.
I mean, they're really starting to kind of pick things up downtown. So it was very, very lucky to be able to open up this business in a prime spot in a location where I think it's going to grow on its own. Once signage gets kind of put up on the place, I think that's another thing where people are just going to be, whoa, there's a golf place in town. You know, we have nothing. We barely even have a sporting goods store.
Like I said, man, this is my opportunity to kind of get your name out there, man.
I appreciate it very much, man.
When I initially met you at Kepler's and we got you got me fitted for my golf clubs, and we went through that process. I knew right away. I'm like, okay, this is a person I can count on or whatnot. I mean, my dad came to visit and he wanted a new driver shaft because he was not hitting very well. Man, he showed up, he took care of us, and he got him a shaft. And I said, hey man, how much you like? Just hang on to it, practice with it, and let me know.
Yeah,
sure. And that was a really cool thing to do.
Oh, I appreciate it.
But like I said, man. I see the buy-in from you, and that's the biggest part. It's not just a job for you, man. It's a passion. It's what you love to do.
Big time.
And I think that echoes into your lessons and your teachings. And then that's where you get the buy-in from your students.
For sure,
you're going to get more out of that because they're going to say this guy actually cares, and he doesn't just want to collect my paycheck. He wants to show me how to be a better golfer, but also to be a better version of yourself in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's one of the benefits of these lessons is kind of teaches you to just like, hey, hold up, take a chill pill. Like, let's see what's going on here. Start with the basics, right? Go back to your fundamentals and see what's going on. And that equates to a lot of things going on in your life sometimes. There are times in life when you're like, God damn it, nothing's going right. It's like, okay, well, let's go back to the basics. Let's get up on time. Let's go do this. Okay, that's done. All right, let's take care of this and this. Oh, this is right. Okay, this is where I'm falling behind. And you can equate that to anything in your life.
100%.
If you're failing at one thing, if you're struggling on the course or you're struggling at home, there's ways around that. There's ways to talk about. And I think. When I see what you're doing here and I see the kind of commitment you have to your business, really the sky's the limit, man. I mean,
right on.
You're going to continue to do that and drive, and the day will come when you get a bigger facility. You have your own facility.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have Paylor made golf academy on the side of the building.
That's
There's going to be a point where you get there. And like I said, I'm definitely going to be there.
You know what I mean? To have man.
Whether I'm living in Alabama or California or New York City or whatever it may be, man. And this is the platform that'll always be there for your listeners to go back and listen and hear your story. Because, like I said, everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's a happy story, sad story, good story, exciting story, but everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has a mission. Everyone has a goal.
Yeah.
And I think that, you talk about this a lot in your lessons, is having a goal. A lot of people want to come in there and just like, I want to be a better golfer, or I want to be better at this. Like, hey man, that's not how it works. What's your goal and what do you want to do?
Yep, absolutely.
What is it? A handicap thing? Is it? I want to be able to be a better ball striker. Is it? I want to be more efficient with my swing.
Sure.
Is it? What's your goal? And you make that clear in the very beginning. Like, hey, what are you looking to do? Is when you asked me that question, and I said, I want to be more efficient. I feel like I'm really tense all the time. I'm sore after a round, and you said, okay, we're going to start with the basics. We're going to start
simple
here,
simple.
Because for the most part, I was striking the ball well, but I wasn't compression. There was like some small things, but you were able to break that down and in a different way for me to understand. And at first I was a little kind of like, okay, off-putting by certain things, like, oh, that doesn't feel right. And you're like, good, that's what I want to hear. The moment you say, oh, this feels natural to me, they're going to go, nah, we're going to try something else, because we don't want you to, fall back into that rut,
Yeah, absolutely.
But what you've been able to do now, it's great. And I applaud you for doing it, man, because
thank you.
There's no other place in town where you can get this kind of quality in teaching. Now, not to discredit the other golf pros out there. I'm sure you guys are great. I'm sure you guys have your students and have done a lot of great things, but what you're doing here is a little bit different. You're providing much more than just teaching someone how to swing a golf club.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
And I can see it in your lessons plan. I can see it from your website. I can see your, it's a great, by the way, great website. I mean,
thank you.
You guys
Russ Brackett,
checking this out. I'm putting it up on the screen for you guys so you can see it. But
Russ Brackett.
Paylor Made Golf Academy. He's got his home, his bio, his lessons plans, testimonies from his guys. I got to get on there too, by the way. So I'll see if I can send one out to you.
Next up.
But a lot of good things you have going on here, and especially, obviously you have all your packages and whatnot, what you provide. One of the ones I liked, I was explaining earlier, was the golf talk, man.
It is, man.
It's probably one of the most important parts of the game. I'll be honest with you, is like sometimes you just need to talk golf.
You gotta vent, dude.
Sometimes you just gotta be like,
100%.
Why the fuck can I not make this damn? And you just talk about like why, and then you get it out and go, okay, let's try it again, and boom, everything starts to click.
And a lot of tangents in those golf talk sessions, man, and they kind of wander off even the topic of golf and realize that a lot of what's going on in life affects our golf, and a lot of what's going on in golf affects our life. I vividly remember one of my students that I'm giving a lesson to. Guy's got a really good tempo swing 9 out of 10 days of the week, right? So just really good tempo. Well, he comes out and he is just fast. I mean, his swing is just super quick. And I'm just letting him go through his motions, and I'm just kind of standing back, and I'm just kind of waiting. And I finally just get to a point, and I was like, hey, everything good with you right now? Everything okay? And he goes, well, what do you mean? And I go, well, just your tempo's just crazy fast. And he goes, no, everything's not okay. I just lost my job.
Okay.
And I was like, dude,
yeah,
what? And this man with a family, got kids, the whole nine and stuff. He's like, it's not, it's not the end of the world. I've already got stuff in line, but just the way it all ended, it's just got me all kind of frustrated and flustered. And I was like, dude, hey, that's totally normal. And maybe today wouldn't be the most valuable day to do this, but at the end of the day, let's try and just slow our tempo down. Let's work on this just for a few more minutes. And by the end of the session, this dude felt like he was laying on a couch for 45 minutes telling all his fears in a therapy session and things like that. But ultimately, man, like, life can affect golf and golf can affect life, both good and both bad. And it's like, unless someone's kind of there to help you kind of work through some of that stuff, man, it can make you extremely frustrated and want to leave the game and not want to play it for a while. And you get a lot of people who maybe not quite as good as they believe they are, and they finally come to a place and a point where they just kind of give up on the game, and it's not for a warranted reason. You know what I mean? And so this guy was going through a lot of stuff in his life that was affecting his golf game. That's going to happen. That's just going to happen. That's everyday life. Yeah. One day you wake up happy, the next day you wake up mad. Tell me the difference. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still haven't figured it out. Right? You wake up happy one day, you're irritated the next morning, can't explain it. Just the way life works.
Yeah.
you know. And so
it is what it is, man.
100%.
But it's life, right? And I always have a saying: life doesn't get easier; we get stronger, right?
I like it. I like it.
We have a tendency sometimes to think that it's going to get easier because we get complacent, we get comfortable.
Sure. Oh yeah. Big
but
time.
I will say this, man. As a species, we're designed to deal with anxiety and deal with nature and deal with shit all the time. That's how we survive. That's how we made it
attack the uncomfortable, man.
The moment we become complacent, the moment we stop thinking about moving or progressing is when we start to get just stagnant and things start to get boring and the mind starts to wander.
Facts. Yep.
Just recently I started doing some, dieting and exercise and stuff like that just to kind of get back into a rhythm. And immediately right after I started dieting, like the mental clarity changed. There's no longer, there's no longer that, like, how do I explain it? This blur over me, or this like cloudiness. Cloudiness over me when I'm doing something. It's just I'm sharper. I'm not eating a bunch of junk And then, I was at the gym the other day. God damn, I haven't been to the gym in a while. And I did 5 exercises, and I was hurting for like 6 days after that. Like, that's it. Just 5 exercises, and I got decimated. And I've been looking into doing some other exercises too as well, just to improve my golf game. But really, it's just going to come down to fundamentals and basics and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think, though, that a lot of times, we let the little things get to us, right? We let the tiny little things get to us.
And a lot of the tiny things are uncontrollable, man.
Right. You can't.
A lot of the stuff's uncontrollable.
You can't control a lot of that stuff. And all you can really do is just take it one day at a time. And it equates to what we've been talking about. Like, sometimes you go to the range and you're just, man, I'm not hitting anything. I am not striking the ball well, and this sucks. And you go home, you rest on it, you come back the next day, and everything's hitting pure. Everything's feeling great. And you're like, what happened? What changed?
Yep.
And it could be as simple as just a thought.
Yeah, for sure.
It could be as simple as a thought in your brain.
For sure, where our mind's at. Yep, absolutely.
And I know me I'm a driving range pro when I go out there, but when I hit that course, I am a 27 handicap golfer. It's just like, what the, I am a scratch golfer at the range, but when I go out there and play, it's just like, that's what we're talking about. That's the mentality of it. It's the mental part of it.
Big time.
It's understanding that mentality you have in one aspect of your life needs to be incorporated in the other.
For sure. And much easier said than done, man. Much easier said than done, for sure.
Yeah. It takes a lot of hard work, bro. That's all I got to say. A lot of hard work.
Anything worth it does.
So the holiday season's coming up.
Yep.
I know it's going to be a lot of family time, but
big time.
Do you have anything big going on with your stuff during the holiday season, or do you kind of take a break? How does that work?
Well, I think with it being my first holiday season and not like, fully ramped up, I think it's kind of a little bit trial and error. Next week, I've got people that want to book lessons all the way through Thursday or through Wednesday. I think I'm not going to like close down or anything like that. Right now, my hours are real flexible. So Monday through Friday, I'm very flexible. I can be there as early as needed or as late. I got a one guy that's working graveyard, so we've met up at like 10 o'clock at night at my shop a couple times.
Get after it, son.
Any time.
Let's go.
If my family's sleeping, bro, I can be working. So Monday through Friday, any hours. Saturday, just AM hours. Closed on Sundays, pure family day. But for the holidays, just keep those same hours, man. I'm trying to get off the ground. I'm trying to be available at all times. So I'm not going to turn anybody away at any point right now. And even in the future, I'm going to do my best to not turn anybody away because, again, I get to share something that I love intensely and passionately, and I get to share that with people on any level that they're willing to listen to, and that's a blessing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So when it comes to your website here, let's take a look at it just so we can kind of just for our guys out there who are interested. So you can find it at what? Paylor Made?
Golfacademy.com.
Okay. Yep. Obviously, you have your links here for Facebook and Instagram.
Sorry, no post yet.
They're coming. Post yet. We're going to get there.
They're coming.
That's fine.
They're coming.
So take me through a little bit here.
So actually, the quote up top is from my wife. We were kind of starting to lay out these pages and designing it, and she said we need a quote on top. So I spit out a couple quotes to her that I just thought of, and she was like, "No, those are trash." So I was like, thanks, appreciate that. And
thanks, honey.
She said if I could really, she thought about if I could, describe you in anything in this game is I play this game through passion and hard work. My mom was dropping me off at 7 o'clock in the morning, picking me up at 10 o'clock at night, 6 days a week when I found this game. So, I mean, I've worked as hard as anybody out there. I used to hit balls till my hands bled. So that's where this quote has became a part of me too, because that is, I want people to understand that just through passion and hard work, not talent, nothing to do with talent, but through passion and hard work, you can get very good at this, and you can kind of, again, reach and accomplish anything that you set your mind to in this world. So, my wife, thank you for the quote, because it does explain kind of how I approach this game. My boy Russ up in Nevada County does this for a living, so he's the one that built my webpage. He told me to pretty much give him information, and he constructed this. So just a little layout of kind of what we're looking to do. You know, I've got 25 plus years of experience in this industry, working at golf courses, working in golf stores, to, you know, most recently being at Kepler's and learning the whole fitting aspect of it, which was one of the biggest blessings that I've had in this game so far. And then little bio, just a little background. I mean, you know, who I am. Come from a really big family. I've got a lot of nurses in the family. My mom was a hospice nurse for 30 plus years. I got my sisters, and two of my sisters are nurses. My oldest niece is a nurse, but just big family, man. You know, I got my daughter Naomi is my mom's 19th grandchild. So just used to a big group, and love family kind of comes before everything.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you when it comes to family, man. That's
Number
one thing in the world is
Big
family.
time.
You know, work is work, but family is family. You know,
Yeah,
work.
that's great.
You can always find a job. That's what I say. You can
big
always,
time.
You know, you can't replace family. You can't
That's right.
go out and find that. But
That's right.
Elliot, man, I always enjoy talking to you. I always
Likewise,
enjoy
dude.
spending time
Hopefully
with you.
this is the first of many to come.
Yeah,
man.
I would
to
love.
do this
Well,
again.
first and foremost, you know, anything I can do to help you on your journey, because I'd like to be a part of that in any way I can. Not only as a student, but as a friend.
Yeah, I
you know,
appreciate it.
as a supporting factor, because I see you have a lot to offer people,
Thank you.
and it's more than just golf.
Thank you, man. That means
it's
a lot.
It's more than just how to swing a steel, you know, thing at a small
Chase a
little
white ball,
gopher
find it and hit it
ball, whatever you
again.
want to call it. It's
Insanity.
more than that. You know, it's
Insanity.
more than just one thing. And I know this is just a step in your journey. I know this is just one more leg up in your journey to success, which, you know, in my opinion, you know, you're never really there. You know, you're never really on top.
Always striving
if you
for
feel
more.
like if you feel like you're on top, man, you need to keep pushing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Success is not something it's measured by just one thing. It's over time.
For sure.
You know, it's a consistency. It's your performance through passion and hard work, man. And
100%.
And you got to continue to do that.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you, man.
Thank you for having me on, dude.
Absolutely.
A
Any choice words you want to send out to some of your friends, family, or your students?
Man, pressure's on now. No, I mean, I just think that if you give me a chance, I can open your eyes to a sport that maybe you didn't even know existed if you never played it. I think if you have played it for a really long time and you're a really good player, I can still help you, because I've suffered in this game just as much as anybody else, if not more than most. And I think that even with that being said, I know what it looks like when you persevere through stuff, and I know what it looks like when you put your head down, even when times are really, really tough and really, really hard, and all the odds are stacked against you. And I think everybody kind of has their own journey in that, and everybody has their own kind of piece of, you know, hey, no two paths are the same for people. So I would just say, you know, come down, check out my shop, come down, hit some balls, come down, have a drink upstairs, come down, hang out. Right now I'm just there by appointment, but it doesn't mean that you can't come down at any time and just see if I'm in there, pop your head in and stuff. So doors always open, and looking forward to meeting some new people.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Elliot. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Derek and Friends podcast. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for all up-to-date content. Look forward to seeing you guys again. Once again, Elliot, thank you for your time, man.
Thanks, D.
You guys have a good night.
Take care.